Chapter 8:14 Lion Camel Ridge 4. As for the archers on the mountain, they originally wanted to come down, but when they saw Tiger and the others, they immediately retreated. Tiger and the others also arrived very quickly. Lin Etienne, who was originally nervous, saw them charging at Master Lu and the others. Although he was puzzled, he heaved a sigh of relief. However, the martial arts skills of the people that Master Lu brought with him were really not bad. After suppressing Lin Etienne and the others, Master Lu quickly raised his knife and slashed at Gu Chungrui. Gu Chungrui shot his crossbow toward him. While Master Lu dodged the arrow, Gu Chungrui quickly sprinkled a handful of knockout powder on him. Just as he was about to attack again, someone suddenly shouted, "Master, let's go!" Master Lu turned his head and realized that his men had basically been captured. Gu Chengrui's men and the bandits had already surrounded him. He knew that it would be difficult for him to get out, so he used all his strength and quickly rushed toward Gu Chungrui to slash at him. However, before he could get close, he staggered and fell to the ground. Finally, Gu Chungrui heaved a sigh of relief. "Tie him up."
Yes.
Etienne Lin nodded and quickly tied Master Lu up. At this moment, Tiger walked over with a big laugh. He looked at Gu Chungrui and asked, "You must be Marquis Lu, right?" "Yes, I am." "You are?" Gu Chungrui played dumb. At the same time, he sized him up. His image was really comparable to Zhang Fei's. "I'm the chief of the Lion Camel Camp on the mountain. I was given the nickname Tiger. We heard that someone wanted to harm you, so we came to save you." "Thank you so much. Otherwise, our group would have been in danger." "You flatter me. We've heard a lot about your deeds, so we're willing to help you." "Yeah, we all volunteered. If it weren't for the sweet potato you found, it would have been difficult for many of our brothers on the mountain to have enough to eat." A young man dressed like a scholar added, "Indeed, we have planted quite a number of sweet potatoes on the mountain. I wonder if my lord is interested in going up and taking a look?" Tiger suggested. "No, the Marquis still has a lot of things to do. We have to hurry to Qianzhou Prefecture." Lin Etienne quickly replied. Lion Camp was the biggest bandit den. If they had any ulterior motives, Gu Chungrui and his group would be in danger. "It's fine. It just so happens that our men are more or less injured. Let's stay on the mountain for a night and set off tomorrow." Gu Chungrui patted Lin Yidatian's shoulder and said. He was still thinking of taking the opportunity to test Tiger's and the others' intentions to see if there was a possibility of recruiting them. How could he miss this rare opportunity? "Thank you for your trust, Marquis. Let's go up the mountain now." Tiger then looked at the scholar and said, "Ninth brother, remove the beast traps on the road and tie up the remnants of King Hui up the mountain. There might be poison in their mouths. Don't let them commit suicide." Gu Chungrui reminded, "Did you hear that? Remember to gag them." After Tiger finished speaking, he brought Gu Chungrui up the mountain. Seeing this, Lin Etienne and the others could only follow. As for the scholar, he quickly got someone to deal with the poison sacs in Master Liu's and the others' mouths. However, he was still a step too late. Other than Master Lu, only 3 people with slow reactions were left. After they went up the mountain, Tiger brought Gu Chungrui to look at the sweet potatoes they planted along the way. After returning to the main stronghold, Tiger arranged for them to be alone in a courtyard. "My lord, you and your brothers should clean up your wounds and rest for a while. Let's meet again after I've dealt with those remaining ambushers." "Wait, Master Lu is one of the trusted aides of King Hui, and King Prince has left quite a number of his people in the country, so it's better to interrogate him before dealing with him." "Oh, you know him?" Chapter 8:15 Lion Camel Ridge 5. I guess so. I met him once, years ago. A few days ago, they tried to assassinate me at Pingyang. We traced the assassination back to them, but couldn't find them. I didn't expect them to set up an ambush here. Gu Chungrui said, "If you're not tired, why don't you come along for the interrogation?" Tiger hesitated for a moment and offered. "All right, then he'll have to trouble Chief Tiger to lead the way." After Gu Chungrui finished speaking, he left medicine for Lin Etienne and the others and followed Tiger to the prison in the mountain stronghold. He did not expect that the torture tools inside were no less than those in the government. Looking at the 4 people who were tied up, Gu Chungrui stepped forward and took off the mask of Master Lu, who was still unconscious. When he saw the scar on his face, he smiled. It's really him. Wearing a mask every day, I thought he would look good. I didn't expect him to be so average. Tiger shook his head. Gu Chungrui looked at him in surprise. He took out a silver needle from the many torture tools and used it to stop 3 of them, including Master Lu, from waking up. Only one of them was left to wake up, a man with a big mole on his chin. Gu Chungrui asked, "Are there any of your people on this mountain?" Tiger's heart skipped a beat when he heard that. He immediately perked up his ears and listened. If there were people on the mountain, then his place wasn't safe either. The big mole man glanced at him and closed his eyes without saying anything. That disdainful expression angered Tiger so much that he stepped forward and kicked him. "You don't know how to appreciate favors, huh?" After saying that, he wanted to kick him again. Gu Chungrui stopped him. "Brother, calm down. People like them are not afraid of physical pain. If we beat him to death, he would be the happiest one here." After saying that, he asked Tiger to bring some paper and water. Gu Chungrui slowly played the sticker game again, really slowly. The man deeply experienced the feeling of having difficulty breathing until he suffocated. After fainting twice, when Gu Chungrui stuck it on his face again, the mole man finally could not take it anymore. "Stop. He'll talk. It would have been better if you had said so earlier. You wouldn't have to suffer so much." After Gu Chungrui finished speaking, he sat at the side. When Tiger saw this, he was impressed. Previously, when they extorted confessions through torture, not only did they torture the prisoners to the verge of death, but they were also exhausted. He didn't expect that there was such an easy and effective method. He would use it in the future. The mole man took a few deep breaths and said, "There are indeed 2 of our people on this mountain. They sneaked in during the famine. One of them is the 3rd head of the stronghold we were staying in. Now, more than half of the people in the stronghold are coming over. As for the other one, I only know that he's in the main stronghold, but I don't know who he is. Other than killing me, what is your purpose in coming up the mountain this time?" The mole didn't say anything. Instead, he looked at Tiger. Damn it! Tiger was stunned. "You want to kill me?" he cursed. "Not only do they want your life, but they also want all the property of Lion Camel Ridge," Gu Chungrui added. It seemed that his previous guess was right. King Hui and the others had long targeted the bandits on this mountain, or rather, throughout the entire Lion Camel Ridge. If they occupied this place, this continuous mountain range could definitely hide more than 100,000 people. 2 years later, they would cut off the traffic in Qianzhou and annex the land. Just thinking about it was terrifying. After a round of interrogation, they found out that they had a secret stronghold in Qianzhou. Other than killing Gu Chungrui, they came to control Qianzhou and even the entire south. However, they did not expect to be discovered so quickly. Chapter 8:16 Lion Camel Ridge 6. When Gu Chungrui saw this, he turned his head to Tiger and said, "Brother Tiger, destroy all the strongholds they were in previously, especially the one the spy was in. You must not let him run away. We have to find that traitor as soon as possible. Otherwise, it will be too late if something really happens. That's easy since we have captured all of their ambushers. I'll send my brothers to bring them here now. It must be someone you can trust." Tiger paused and thought of what the mole man had said before. He knew there was a hidden spy in their stronghold, so he nodded and went out to give instructions. Gu Chungrui interrogated the other 2. To be honest, those captured here were basically people who were afraid of death. Otherwise, they would have committed suicide by biting the poison sac. Therefore, after the 2 of them were tortured, they confessed, but it was similar to what the mole male said. The only additional information was that the general judge of Qianzhou was one of their people, one of the first batch of people replaced. Because it was done so early, few people knew about it. He was a fish that slipped through the net. In the end, Gu Chungrui got someone to bring them out. It just so happened that the tiger had returned, so Gu Chungrui woke Master Lu up. When Master Lu saw him standing together with the tiger, he sneered. "It's a pity that the current emperor has always trusted you. I didn't expect you to collude with bandits. You're really a classic example of being ungrateful. You don't have to provoke me. It's useless." Gu Chengrue said, "That's right. We didn't even know each other before. If it weren't for the few of you, I wouldn't have done anything. Fortunately, I acted fast. Otherwise, it would be a pity for Marquis and Lu to die in your hands." Master Lu looked at Tiger in surprise. "Do we know each other? There shouldn't be any enmity between us, right?" At the same time, he began to rub his wrists together. "No, but I have a grudge against your master," Tiger added. "Besides, you're not a good person. I'm sure you've killed more people than me." After Gu Chengrue noticed his abnormality, he immediately went forward to take a look. When he saw the rope that was about to break, he was shocked and quickly reached out to numb an acupuncture point on his arm. Later, he got someone to hang him on a rack. He picked up the rope that was about to break and said, "You are a spy's role model. You are bold, meticulous, and calm enough." Damn it, I almost fell for his trick. After saying that, Tiger went forward to check carefully. Surprisingly, he took out a small blade shaped like a willow leaf from Master Liu's right sleeve. It was sewn into his sleeve. If he hadn't exposed himself, it would have been difficult to find it. "Continue searching, even his underwear," Gu Chengrue said. If you want to kill me, do it. Don't humiliate me." Master Lu gritted his teeth. "Haha, so you're afraid of this. So, confess quickly. That way, both of us will save trouble and effort." Tiger replied with a sinister smile. "Else, they'll strip you naked and hang you at the entrance of the stronghold," he said with a dark face. "They'll let thousands of brothers see you. Maybe someone will even touch it for fun." Master Liu's face turned green with anger, but he didn't say anything else. Otherwise, Tiger might really do something. Gu Chengrue ignored him and carefully checked every piece of clothing on him, including shoes and socks. He even pulled out the hairpin on his head and tried to check it. He did not expect to find a note inside the hairpin. When Master Lu saw the note, he tried to struggle a few times and tug the rack out of the ground. Unfortunately, he could not break free. "Damn it," Tiger shouted. "He's strong. Give him some muscle relaxant." Chapter 8:17 Lion Camel Ridge 7. A few bandits immediately went forward, but Master Lu kicked them away. "You are very impressive." When Tiger saw this, he picked up the barbed whip on the side and whipped him fiercely. With his participation, Master Lu was quickly held down and given the muscle relaxant. "Brother, what's written on the note?" Tiger looked at Gu Chengrue, who had a gloomy expression on his face. "It's better for Brother Tiger not to know about this," Gu Chengrue said. When Tiger heard this, he knew that it was not a small matter. He did not ask any more questions. Instead, he pointed at Master Lu and said, "If you want to interrogate him, hurry up. He's not one to stay down." "All right." After Gu Chengrue finished speaking, he walked up to Master Lu and said, "You just have to answer one of my questions, and he'll give you a quick death. Give up. I don't have any other skills, but I've trained well in the ability to endure hardship. Don't even think about getting any useful information from me." "Is that so? It seems that you're not afraid of death. But are you afraid of living a life worse than death?" Gu Chengrue replied. He asked Tiger to send someone to bring some honey over and rub it evenly on his wound. Master Lu thought of something, and his eyes shrank. In the end, he calmed down. Gu Chengrue smiled. "It seems like you've thought of it. Let's see what it feels like." After saying that, he got someone to throw him on the ground. At first, Tiger and the others were curious. They didn't know what Gu Chengrue was up to. About a quarter of an hour later, they finally understood it. This was because Master Liu's body was already crawling with ants, especially at his wounds. The smell of blood even attracted some other insects, which kept biting at Master Liu's wound. Although Master Lu did not shout, his trembling muscles revealed his true feelings. Not to mention Tiger and the others. Even Gu Chengrue was impressed. Gu Chengrue later used the paper and water method, but unfortunately, he still could not pry open Master Liu's mouth. Gu Chengrue was even more impressed now, but this was a serious matter, so he had to open his mouth. He could only look at Tiger and say, "Brother Tiger, go to the stronghold and find some brothers who like men." Although he doesn't look very good, his body and skin are pretty. Gu Chengrue, Master Lu gritted his teeth and shouted, "What are you shouting for? Since you are loyal to your master, you must be devoted with all your heart. It's just bodily pain. What's the matter? Don't you think you can withstand it?" Gu Chengrui sneered. Tiger's eyes flashed. "That's right. I guess you haven't married a wife in your line of work. Why don't you let my brothers have some fun? It's not a waste for you to come to this world, right?" After saying that, he called out a few names and asked someone to call them over. After hearing this, Master Lu could no longer maintain the expression on his face. He struggled a few times to get up and kill Gu Chengrui, but his body was so weak that even getting up was very difficult. After a while, the few people that Tiger had called out walked in. "I know you all love both men and women," said Tiger. "Please serve this one well." After saying that, he waved his hand, and they walked out. Gu Chengrui also turned around and followed them. However, as soon as they closed the door, they suddenly heard someone shouting from inside. Murder! Murder!" Gu Chengrui, who was at the back, immediately pushed the door open and walked in. He saw that Master Lu had already been killed. There were 2 corpses beside him, and one of them was chasing after the other 2. Gu Chengrui immediately pulled out the dagger from his boots and rushed forward to fight with the man. Chapter 8:18 Lion Camel Ridge 8 Tiger, and the others also followed in at this time. The killer had no way to run and ran into the dagger in Gu Chengrui hand. At the same time, he clenched his hands into fists and smashed toward his temple. Gu Chengrui immediately leaned back, raised his leg, and kicked him in the chest. The killer took 2 steps back, but was quickly stopped by Tiger and the others. They quickly gave him some muscle relaxant. "Tie him up, Brother Tiger. Inform the people guarding the stronghold that everyone is only allowed to enter and not leave. Otherwise, they will be killed without mercy," Gu Chengrui said. Tiger looked at him in confusion. The old informants of King Hui all had a poison sac in their mouths, but this one doesn't. This means that he developed later, and the person that the mole mentioned hasn't been found. Tiger's expression froze after hearing that. He nodded and led the 2 of them out. Gu Chengrui waited for him to leave and immediately began interrogating the killer. With just 1 piece of paper, he had identified the person beside him. His superior was the earliest informant, and he was now a captain and had over 100 subordinates. He knew that he had already developed 7 people. He didn't know anything else. Gu Chengrui was about to go out with the name list when Lin Yitian walked in and asked, "Marquis, are you okay?" "Pretty good. How are the brothers?" "Very good. Well, rest after everyone is bandaged." Gu Chengrui nodded and handed the list to a bandit he had just saved. The bandit nodded solemnly, then turned around and ran out. Gu Chengrui asked someone to keep an eye on the killer while he sat on the chair to rest. After a while, the outside became chaotic, but it quickly calmed down. Tiger captured the 7 people on the list. After a round of interrogation, they arrested another group of people. Gu Chengrui also understood what was happening with the weapons in the note he got from Master Lu. It turned out that King Hui still had an iron mine in his hands, and a large number of weapons were being forged inside. More importantly, he even got the address of the iron mine. As for the person in charge of the iron mine, he was the general judge of Qianzhou province. After confirming that the news had not been leaked, Gu Chengrui got Tiger to kill all the informants. As for those who knew the news, they were temporarily put under house arrest. When they were almost done, the people from the stronghold who had helped Master Lu and the others were all captured. After more interrogation, more than half of the people in the entire stronghold had already sided with King Hui. Only the first leader, second leader, and their trusted aides were still in the dark. Thus, those who rebelled would all be executed. As for the first leader and the second leader, they stayed in the stronghold for the time being. At night, Gu Chengrui wrote the matter into a memorial and put the note in it. When it was late at night, he called Zhou and handed the item to her. "In the name of Mother God, send it to the Emperor as soon as possible." "Understood. You won't be coming in today?" "No, there are too many people here. I won't go in." "All right, go to bed early." After Zhou finished speaking, she gave him some self-defense powder. Only then did she open the memorial and take a glance. After reading it, Zhou shook her head and went straight to the emperor. At this moment, the emperor had finished seeing the eldest prince and was about to take a bath. Zhou quickly sent him a voice transmission and asked him to return to the study. The emperor was stunned for a moment. When he realized that it was the voice of the mother god, he nodded to Gu Wanning and immediately rushed to the royal study. After he entered the study, Zhou handed the memorial to the emperor. Chapter 8:19 Lion Camel Ridge 9. The emperor was stunned for a moment before he quickly opened the memorial and read it. When he finished reading the more than 3-foot-long memorial, his face was as black as the bottom of a pot. He did not expect King Hui to have such a trump card still. If Gu Chengrui had not discovered it in time, there would have been a big upheaval in the Great Ming Dynasty in the future, especially the weapons on the note, which were enough to equip 100,000 soldiers. Just thinking about it made him scared. After hesitating for a moment, he summoned Zhou Huaiming and King Xian into the palace overnight and told them about the matter. This matter is of great importance. You will set off overnight. Imperial uncle, you and Zheang will be in the open and Huaining in the dark. You must bring the people and weapons from Qinzhou province to me.
Yes.
The two of them replied. What about the bandits on the mountain? King Xian raised his head and asked, should we recruit them as Lord Gu suggested, or should we disband them? Since Gu Chengrui has already infiltrated the bandits, let him handle this matter. When there are results, I will ask him to look for you. All right, but it's best to recruit them. If we disband those people, I'm afraid it will harm the people further. I'll try my best. The emperor nodded and handed a gold medal to King Xian. Use this to mobilize the army nearby if you need it. Thank you, Your Highness. The Sage King nodded. You too. The emperor nodded and looked at Zhou Huaiming. Zhou Huaiming nodded. However, he knew that the soldiers he would be able to command were different from King Xian. The emperor was referring to their own informants and secret guards. In the end, the emperor emphasized, you must ensure Gu Shengru's safety on this trip.
Yes.
The two of them responded and left the palace in a hurry. After leaving the palace, Zhou Huaiming said to King Xian, Your Highness, let's split up. They'll go by water first and quietly. You can go by land. When they get the news and panic, it'll be the best time to catch them. The Sage King nodded in agreement. All right, but it's not good to be too early. They'll release the news a day earlier. All right, then I'll take my leave first. Zhou Huaiming nodded, returned to his residence, and gave Mingyu some instructions. Then, he ordered 2 teams of 20 guards to set off overnight. King Xian, on the other hand, dawdled for a while. He ordered hundreds of guards to quietly march forward, and the father and son brought 10 bodyguards with them to leave the capital before dawn. On the other end, the emperor wrote a letter to Gu Chengrui overnight. He looked around and asked tentatively, Mother God, are you still there? Can you help me send another message? As soon as he finished speaking, the letter disappeared into thin air. Thank you, Mother God. The emperor was startled and quickly bowed. Zhou was secretly happy to see this, but she did not reply. After taking the letter, she glanced at Gu Chengrui and saw that he was still awake, so she gave him the letter. Gu Chengrui quickly finished reading and kissed his mother god statue. Thank you, babe. Sleep early. When Zhou saw this, she poked him in the mouth before retreating. Gu Chengrui touched his lips, which seemed to have been stung by a hornet, and smiled. He hid the letter in his cotton coat and went to sleep. The next morning, when he woke up, he discovered that Tiger had been busy most of the night. He had thoroughly cleaned up the stronghold. The remaining people in the small stronghold where Master Lu and the others were previously were also under his command. Lord Gu, Tiger asked after breakfast, when are you leaving? They'll send someone to escort you all the way to Qinzhou province. We'll set off in a while. Brother Tiger, there's something I don't know if I should say. Gu Chengrui hesitated. Chapter 8:20 Lion Camel Ridge 10. Since you call me brother, then don't stand on ceremony, Brother Gu. Just say what you want to say. Tiger laughed. Then I won't hesitate. After this incident, although nothing happened to me, Lion Camel Ridge will definitely attract the attention of the officials. What are your plans for the future? What do you mean? There's no meaning to it. The situation has stabilized now, and the government won't allow you to stay in Lion Camel Ridge for long. Therefore, what I mean is that you have to find a way out as soon as possible. Besides, you have to think about your descendants. You can't let them be bandits forever, right? Although Tiger was a little unhappy at first, he was not brainless. Otherwise, he would not have been the chief here for many years. Therefore, he knew very well that what he said made sense. The main point was that, for the sake of their descendants, they could not continue to be bandits on the mountain. Brother Gu, why don't you tell us where our way out is? He asked. There are 3 ways. First, you could change from a bandit to a hunter and become a villager. Of course, this is the worst option. Second, the population decreased sharply after the disaster, so there is a lot of empty land. You can choose a piece of land to settle down on and become good citizens. I will help you through my connections if you agree to this condition. However, I'm afraid that you can't all be together. Third, amnesty. You were soldiers before. After returning to the military camp, you will be able to serve the imperial court better with your skills. Do you think the imperial court will treat us well? Tiger asked after a moment of shock. I don't know you guys very well, but after spending a day with you, I can tell that you guys aren't criminals. Moreover, we've also asked around before. Your toll was always reasonable, and you never made things difficult for honest merchants or ordinary passers-by. Just based on this point, I'm willing to deal with it for you. Seeing his sincerity, Tiger hesitated for a while. Brother Gu, you still have to stay in Qianzhou for about half a month, right? Why don't you let us brothers discuss it? I'll let you know when I have an idea. Although he was the chief here, his subordinates were all his brothers, who had gone through life and death with him. He had to consider their feelings. I understand. Regardless of whether it succeeds, I will revisit you before I leave. Sure. They'll gather a few smart and capable brothers and send you over. Thank you for your kind intentions, Brother Tiger. However, it's best to keep the news of Master Lu and the others dying on this mountain a secret for now. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if they sought revenge. Tiger thought of the matter of Qinzhou Province's general judge being King Hu's subordinate. He nodded and said, I'll listen to you then. Remember, before that person is dealt with, do nothing. Also, try your best to block the news of Master Lu and the others. Don't worry, I will keep an eye on them. I'll send someone to send you out from the small road later. All right, I'll take my leave. After Gu Chengrui finished speaking, he called for Monkey, who led the way. They directly crossed the mountain range. When he came out, he didn't expect to have already arrived at the nearest town. Monkey said, This lowly one will send everyone here. This is a little token of our big brother's appreciation. Please accept it. After he finished speaking, he handed him a banknote worth 10,000 taels. Gu Chengrui hesitated for a moment. All right, I'll accept it. When I get back, help me thank Brother Tiger. After I'm done, I'll definitely visit him. Chapter 821 Arrival After Monkey left. Lin Etian asked in confusion, Lord, we don't lack money. Why do you still want their money? What if they look down on us? Your thoughts run deep. But with our identities, there's no such thing as looking down on us. Besides, if Tiger really looked down on us, he wouldn't have given us any convenience and sent his most trusted brother to send us out of the mountain. Furthermore, this silver is merely a form of brotherhood trust. Just like when you go out, Yifan is afraid that you don't have enough money on you, so he just gives you some money. When we return, we'll bring them some good things and return the favor. Gu Chengrui smiled. It looks like Lion Camel Ridge is rich. Lin Yifan smiled. There are people coming and going on that road every day. It's a treasure haven. In addition to the things they usually rob, it's hard for them not to be rich. Lin Etian said, All right, don't be sour. They'll treat everyone to a big meal later. Gu Chengrui said solemnly, From the moment we entered this town, you all better keep your mouths shut about the situation on Lion Camel Ridge. If there's anything, we'll talk about it when the people sent by the Emperor arrive. Also, after entering the city, be on your guard. Don't fall into other people's traps. Understood. Lin Etian nodded solemnly. After the group entered the town, They bought new carriages and horses and hurried to the province. When he visited the government office to visit Magistrate Chun, he also saw the general judge here. He was a man in his 40s who was slightly fat. After exchanging a few polite words, Gu Chungrui let them release the announcement for the medical assessment. He then checked into the biggest inn in the name of being tired. He also booked the east side of the second room of the inn. Marquis, there are too many people in the inn. Why do we have to stay here? Lin Yiqian asked. Does Yifan know? Gu Chungrui looked at Lin Yifan. Lord, you're afraid of being schemed against, right? Lin Yifan said. There are two main reasons for staying in the inn this time. One is to avoid trouble, just in case. Another thing is that there are many people with many eyes. If you have nothing to do, sit in the lobby and see if you can get any information. On the surface, you can also inquire about the doctor's situation in Qianzhou province. Lastly, I'm unfamiliar with them, so it's better to stay in an inn than their house. After saying that, he handed Lin Yiqian 1,000 taels of silver. You guys split it. If you have anything you want to eat or drink, feel free to spend it. However, drinking alcohol will cause trouble. Just bear without it. Yes, Marquis, you should rest first. We'll go and see what's delicious here. Over the next few days, besides inviting Lord Qian, Lord Fong, and a few officials in the manor to Hongyun restaurant for a meal, Gu Chungrui was busy setting up the medical center. On this day, after Gu Chungrui announced the name list for the first round, the group was about to return to the inn. Suddenly, a little beggar ran over and bumped into Gu Chungrui. Gu Chungrui felt the little beggar stuff a note into his hand. Lin Yifan immediately grabbed the little beggar. He was about to scold him when Gu Chungrui deliberately glanced at his purse. Forget it. It's not easy for them either. After saying that, he took 10 copper coins from his purse and said, Be careful when you walk in the future. Thank you, master. You're really a good person. The little beggar turned around and ran away after saying that. Chapter 822 Rejection. After the little beggar ran far away, Gu Chungrui took the opportunity to cough and quickly read the note. He was instantly amused, as it turned out to be from Zhou Huaiming. He said, Let's go. It's been hard for you two brothers to follow me around for the past 2 days. They'll treat you to a meal at Hongyun restaurant. Thank you. Don't mind if we do. Lin Yifan replied thoughtfully. Then, the three of them went straight to the Hongyun restaurant and allowed the manager to bring them all the way to a private room on the second floor. Zhou Huaiming was standing in front of the window, trimming the potted plants. When he saw them enter, he turned his head and said, Order whatever you want to eat. I'm almost done with the bonsai. After saying that, he went back to work. How can you treat a guest like this? Gu Chungrui sat down and complained. However, despite complaining, he still ordered 2 dishes that he liked, and then handed the menu to Lin Yiqian. I didn't see you being polite. As soon as Zhou Huaiming finished speaking, the bonsai was done. He sat back down and ordered a few dishes before letting the manager go back to work. Lin Yifan and Lin Yiqian immediately stood up and stood guard outside. So, why did you call me over? Gu Chungrui asked. Are you playing dumb? How can you not know? Tell me everything you know. Hongyun restaurant is so big, but you didn't hear anything? Everyone knows that Hongyun restaurant belongs to me and the emperor. Anyone doing shady business will avoid this place. Who would want to run into the muzzle of a gun? To be honest, I don't know much either. Gu Chungrui nodded and stopped joking. He told him everything he knew and what he had heard over the past few days. In that case, this Fong guy's popularity and reputation are really quite good. Indeed. Of course, it's also possible that he knew that I was coming, so he just continued as usual. I didn't dare alert the enemy. However, you can check in the direction of the mine. Perhaps you can find something there. That's the only way. If there's any news, you can send it to the Hongyun restaurant at any time. Got it. After that, the two of them chatted for a while. When the dishes were served, Gu Chungrui called Lin Yiqian and Lin Yifan in. After the meal, the three of them returned to the inn. As soon as he returned to the inn, he saw Magistrate Chen sitting in the lobby with a man in his 30s beside him. Magistrate Chen immediately stood up when he saw them enter. Has Lord Gu eaten? Would you like to have a bite or two together? He asked. No, I just had a huge plate of pork trotters at Hongyan restaurant just now. You guys continue chatting. After Gu Chungrui finished speaking, he was about to go upstairs. Lord Gu, why not sit and have a drink? I have something to discuss with you. Gu Chungrui hesitated for a moment. He asked the waiter to serve a pot of tea, walked over and sat down. May I know what's the matter, Lord Qin? This is my nephew, Lu Yifei. He is also in first place in the medical examination this time. Lord Chun looked at the man beside him and said, Your foundation is very solid. Gu Chungrui thought of his exam paper and nodded with a smile. He still can't compare with you. I would humbly request for him to be your apprentice. What do you think? You guys are really flattering me. If we want to compare notes on medical skills, I welcome that. But I'm not qualified to be your master. You're too humble. Your medical skills have been recognized by the Emperor. I was just lucky enough to discover the smallpox vaccine. Shall we discuss medical skills together? Lu Yifei asked. Of course, whenever I'm free. Gu Chungrui nodded. Are you free in the afternoon? I happen to have a special case here and would like to ask you for advice. Chapter 823 The Lu Family Sure. Gu Chungrui nodded. Magistrate Chun immediately stood up. You guys continue chatting. I still have some matters to attend to at the government office. All right, let's talk more when we have time. Gu Chungrui stood up and sent him out. After he came back, he drank tea with Lu Yifei and chatted for a while. After he finished the pot of tea, Gu Chungrui took him upstairs. Gu Chungrui first asked about Lu Yifei's master. Only then did he know that although the Lu family was not very famous, it was still a family with 100 years of inheritance. So the Lu family has many disciples in Shenzhou province? Gu Chungrui asked. No, because the family precepts are passed down to men and not to women or outsiders, so only am left in the family to study medicine. That's a pity. By the way, I heard that you hold a Jiren rank from the scholar exams? Yes, in my early years, I always wanted to be an official like uncle, but unfortunately, I didn't have the brain. I took the exam 3 times before I got my Jiren rank, and I was still third from the bottom. In addition, my father is already old, so I took over the family's clinic. If you enter the medical center, won't there be no one to take care of your family's business? No, I still have a younger brother. Although he's not interested in medicine, he's quite good at doing business. Gu Chungrui nodded in understanding and asked, By the way, what's the situation of the medical case you mentioned? Tell me in detail, and I hope I know about it. Lu Yifei nodded. He took out a book and handed it to him with both hands. This is all the patient's records. Gu Chungrui took it and looked at it seriously. The records were really quite detailed. As for the illness described above, it seemed to be lung cancer. How did you treat the patient? Gu Chungrui asked. Father said that this is a lung disease. I used many prescriptions to promote blood circulation and remove blood stasis, replenish qi and remove blood clots, eliminate phlegm, and strengthen the spleen, but the effects were not very good. Ultimately, he became so scrawny that only a handful of bones are left. Gu Chungrui nodded. This illness is split into benign and malignant. If benign, the patient could still live if we operated on the patient and removed the root cause. If it's malignant, there's still hope if it's found in time. Otherwise, it's just a matter of time before inevitable death. Operation? Lu Yifei looked at him in horror. Would that person still be able to live if he had a knife in his chest? Gu Chungrui smiled and nodded. Exactly, a surgical operation. This also involves a suturing technique. After that, he explained it to him in detail. Lu Yifei's eyes lit up and he asked, Can you save this patient? Who is the patient? He's my father. He's already. Lu Yifei's eyes teared up. Gu Chungrui nodded and said, I can go over and take a look, but his condition? I'm not confident either. Understood. If there's really no other way, we'll just accept our fate. Is it far? If he's not far away, we can go there now. It's just 1 street away, Lu Yifei replied. After that, Gu Chungrui brought Lin Yifan to the Lu family. When he saw the Lu family's head, Gu Chungrui knew that there was no hope for him. Sure enough, when he checked his pulse, He found that the Lu family head was a lamp that had run out of oil. He asked Lu Yifei for silver needles to soothe his lungs, but it was obviously ineffective. Marquis and Lu, your acupuncture skills are so good. It's a pity that I won't have the chance to ask you for advice, said Mr. Lu with a smile. Chapter 8:24 Begging. As long as you calm down and take good care of yourself, you still have a chance, Gu Chengrui said as he retracted the needles. Mr. Lu knew that he was just comforting him. All right, he said. Let's talk about medicine again when we have the chance. After a few polite words, Gu Chengrui and Lu Yifei left. Is there no chance at all? Lu Yifei asked hurriedly. Gu Chengrui shook his head. Now, we can only take good care of him. If the old man has any other wishes, try your best to satisfy them. I understand. Lu Yifei nodded. I look forward to your exam in 3 days. You can look for me when you have time. After Gu Chengrui finished speaking, he patted Lu Yifei's shoulder, turned around, and walked out. After Lu Yifei sent him away, he heard his father's painful cry when he returned. He stood there for a moment. Then, he turned around and informed his men to start preparing for the funeral quietly. 3 days later, Lin Etian handed Gu Chengrui a book at night. My lord, this is the information left behind by Guard Xiao and the information collected by Hongyun Restaurant. I've already summarized it.
Yes.
Gu Chengrui took it and glanced at it. On it were the doctors' names, personalities, and family situations in each county, including the prefecture. Anyone domineering, greedy, with evil thoughts, or surrounded by power was circled in red. He didn't expect that Madame Lu was only Lord Qin's second wife and, moreover, a second concubine. Because Madame Lu married Lord Qin, the Lu family started from a small medicine shop and became the current wealthy family. He raised his head and said, check the Lu family again, especially if the medicinal herb business is clean. I'll check it out now. You must be careful.
Yes.
Lin Etian turned around and left. Just as Gu Chengrui was about to get up and wash up, Lin Yifan came in and said, Sir, I met someone when I went down to the toilet. He said that he had something to tell you. Oh, did he say anything? No, he just said that he wanted to see you. He didn't say anything else. Is that so? Let him come up. You should go down and see him. He's a beggar. I'm afraid, all right? Gu Chengrui hesitated for a moment. Just in case, he turned around and took a pepper spray before following him out. When they arrived outside the woodshed, Lin Yifan went in to take a look. After making sure that there were no accidents, he let him in and guarded the door. Gu Chengrui had just entered when a person dressed like a beggar knelt on the ground with a thud. Please, my lord, please save this servant. Gu Chengrui was stunned when he heard the servant address him. Get up. What's the matter first? The beggar stood up and said, My name is Linger. I used to be a servant girl at Lord Fang's residence. This morning, my sister was killed, and I escaped. But now, the Fang family is looking for me everywhere. Marquis, please save me. Why do you think he'll save you? But, aren't you the Marquis? It is true, but I am only in charge of the medical center. I don't have the power to control the local officials, let alone their family affairs. But your position is higher than his? I don't have the habit of using my power to oppress others. Gu Chengrui shook his head. Then, he deliberately waited for a moment before saying, Tell me first, why did your sister die? Why are they chasing after you? Otherwise, why would I stop him from capturing his escaped slaves? Chapter 8:25 News If I tell you, will you really save me? The little beggar asked softly. It depends on what you're talking about, Gu Chengrui replied. The little beggar hesitated for a moment. Then, she leaned over and whispered, My sister found out that our master is wearing a mask. He is a fake. Oh, is there more? Gu Chengrui was stunned for a moment after hearing that. He did not know if she was telling the truth, so he still did not intend to relent. Is this not enough to punish him? This matter is too big. Only the Emperor and the Ministry of Official Personnel Affairs can handle it. Tell me if there are any other discoveries. If there are, we can suppress him from other directions. My sister also heard them mention something about Lion Camel Ridge, Jigong Mountain, and so on. I didn't hear anything else clearly. Oh, right. It seems that his superior came. They will arrive in the next 2 days. Anything else? Does my young master being imprisoned count? Imprisonment? Do you know why? I'm not sure. I only heard that more than 10 years ago, young master had a big fight with old master, and young master's leg was broken by old master. From then on, young master was imprisoned in a side courtyard. There were people guarding him, but he never came out again. After Gu Chungrui heard that, he could not tell if she was sent to test him or if she really came to ask for help. You could say that she didn't know anything, but everything she said was right on the dot. But if you said she knew everything, you needed to send someone to verify it. If it were a trap, it would be troublesome. Is there anything on Lion Camel Ridge and Jigong Mountain? He asked. Is your master colluding with bandits? I am not really sure. Gu Chungrui saw that he could not get anything more out of her. He told Lin Yifan, find a place to settle her down. Remember to be careful.
Yes.
Lin Yifan nodded and brought her out quietly. After a while, he returned and said, My lord, the arrangements have been made. I also found someone to help keep an eye on her. Where did you arrange her? She's now the servant girl who keeps the fire lit in the casino. Moreover, it's the Fong family's casino. She should be safe. Let her stay there for 2 days. You sure know how to find a place. Keep an eye on her. First, see if she's real or fake. Then, you can make a plan.
Yes.
The exam will start tomorrow. Go to Hongyun restaurant and borrow some manpower. Keep an eye on them. Don't make any mistakes.
Yes.
After Gu Chungrui rested at night, Zhouing contacted him through the inner space. How's it going on your end? Is everything going well? Can you enter the inner space? I'm afraid I have something on tonight. I can't go. After Gu Chungrui finished speaking, he did not wait for her to ask. Instead, he told her everything that had happened in the past few days. So, just in case I won't go in. All right, then go to bed early. I'm going to watch a show. Remember to tell me if you see anything. Don't worry. After Zhouing finished speaking, she first found the servant girl in the casino. Seeing that she was obediently boiling water, she sized up the entire casino. Not only was it quite lively at night, but there were also many gamblers. However, she only brushed these aside and finally found the manager of the casino. It was a man in his 40s with a scar on his face. He looked fierce and scary. At this moment, he was preparing chips to loan money with a group of thugs. Zhouing glanced at it. The person who owed it was Qinjiu, the Scarface himself. There was no information about anyone else. After that, she waited for a while longer. Soon, someone approached them and asked, How is it? Qinjiu, have you heard anything about that servant girl? Chapter 826 The Fong Family Head Butler. I sent people to look for her, but they didn't find the linger you mentioned. Could she have already left the city? Qinjiu asked. Impossible. Our people are watching the city gate. She can't go out. Send someone to look for her again tomorrow. Remember to memorize what she looks like. Don't let her go. Yes, I would rather kill 1,000 innocent people than let her off. If she's alive, I want to see her. If she's dead, I want to see her corpse. Remember to report it to the higher-ups. After the butler finished speaking, he turned around and left. Is it really necessary for a servant girl? Qinjiu complained. After saying that, he got busy. Zhouing left with the head butler. The head butler then went to 2 brothels, a tea house, and the pier before returning to the Fong residence. Zhouing thought of Lord Fang's identity and searched the Fong residence from top to bottom. Finally, she found a square basement in the side courtyard. It was filled with all kinds of gold, silver, jewelry, and many account books. Zhouing took a few books and flipped through them. It was all the accounts of the Fong residence's dirty income. Just as she was about to stop, she found a few account books with different bindings and took them out to flip through. On it were the names and numbers of the weapons they had illegally manufactured. There was also the time of manufacture and the quantity of the goods. There were also a large number of personnel expenses written on it. It was not written in detail, so she could not figure out who was billed. However, She felt that it was very likely the expenses for the weaponsmith. After reading it, she put it back. Just as she was about to retreat, she suddenly heard the sound of chains shaking. Only then did she remember that there was another person in the main room in addition to the lower room. When she went in to take a look, she found that not only was the man crippled, but he had also been chained to the room. However, his life was relatively exquisite. At least his face and hands were clean, and his hair was smooth. She didn't know what kind of nightmare he was having. He kept waving his fists and shaking his head crazily. It seemed that he was fighting with someone in his dream. If she was not mistaken, her throat should have been chemically muted. Otherwise, he would not have been so silent. Just as Zhou Ying was about to leave, there was a knock on the door of the study not far away. Fong Tongpan opened the door and invited the person in. Have you found out who they sent this time? What's the matter? It's King Xian and his son. I didn't find out the details, but they didn't bring many people with them, so it shouldn't be anything big. Don't be careless. By the way, how's the situation at Lion Camel Ridge? Have you found out what's going on? It's been a few days since we last heard from them. I went up the mountain once, but something seemed to have happened on the mountain. Now, the checks on the mountain are very strict, so I didn't dare to go in. However, I overheard that when Marquis and Look came over, he was robbed by bandits. It was Tiger who brought people to save him. No, something must have happened over there. Tiger didn't even give face to Lord Chan and me. Why would he save Gu Chungrui? Do you want me to test Gu Chungrui? There's no need for that yet. Right now, the purpose of King Xian's visit is unknown. It's better for us to be careful, just in case. As for Gu Chungrui, he'll have to stay for another 7 or 8 days. There's no rush. All right, then I will take my leave. Inform the people on the mountain to be careful. Don't let King Xian and the others suss them out. They'll do it now. After that, the man turned around and walked out. Chapter 827 Voice Transmission. Zhou waited for a moment, and after seeing that Lord Fong had fallen asleep, she immediately thought of Zhou Huaiming and went straight to Jigong Mountain. Sure enough, she found Zhou Huaiming, who was still searching for the armory in the mountains. Zhou took a glance and quickly found the location of the weapons. After telling him, she also told him the whereabouts of the people sent by Lord Fong. Zhou Huaiming was shocked when he heard the voice transmission. However, he quickly reacted. That solemn and loving voice was most likely the voice of Mother God. He immediately cupped his fists and said, "Thank you for your guidance, Mother God." The few people who followed him looked at his strange appearance and were stunned. For a moment, they could not understand what was going on. Zhou Huaiming returned to his senses. He kicked each of them. "What are you looking at? I was receiving instructions from Mother God just now." He pointed at the 2 people who were best at hiding and said, "You 2 form a group and head south. When you encounter a cliff, see if there's a cave below. That should be the place we're looking for." On a cliff? No wonder we couldn't find it after wandering around for several days. The 2 of them looked at each other and exclaimed, "Don't be so surprised. You just need to confirm it. After that, come to the foot of the mountain to find me. The rest of you follow me to stop the people who are going up the mountain." Zhou Huaiming went down the mountain after he finished speaking. After Zhou confirmed that they acted on her advice, she withdrew and told Gu Chungrui the news. "It looks like what Linger said is true," Gu Chungrui said with a smile. "Yup, I think we should start investigating the matters in the residence from the young master who was locked up in the side courtyard. He should know something." "I understand. It's been hard on you. Sleep early." "You too." Zhou retreated to the space and then hurriedly collected a batch of sweet potatoes and fed all the livestock. Afterwards, she made some dried sweet potatoes for Guagua, Qianzhou province. The next morning, King Xian and his entourage entered the Qianzhou province. After greeting Lord Chen and Lord Fong, King Xian said, "You guys, go ahead with your work. I heard that today is the 2nd round of the medical center's examination. We'll go and take a look. We'll talk after you're done with government affairs. Do you need me to arrange a place for you to stay?" Magistrate Chen asked. "No need. It's fine for us to stay at the relay station." After saying that, King Xian walked out. "All right, well, welcome your highness at night." Lord Chun and Lord Fong looked at each other, then turned around and left. Later, they informed someone to follow the father and son. However, the father and son really only want to watch the exams. The first step of the exam was to distinguish the authenticity of the medicine, then to weed out the fake medicine with similar shapes, and the last step was to diagnose illnesses. After a day, the father and son watched with great interest. When it was over, it was already midnight. The father and son returned to the relay station and waited for the people watching them to relax. Yang Zheong, the son of King Xian, brought 2 guards and quickly tied up 3 soldiers who were about to change shifts and go home. After exchanging clothes with them, he swaggered out of the door and went straight to Hongyun restaurant. When he entered, he saw Gu Chungrui sitting in the lobby, eating roasted chicken. However, it was obvious that people were watching him. Yang Zheong paused for a moment and deliberately shouted, "Waiter, give me a roast chicken, a plate of beef, 2 stir-fried vegetables, and 2 pots of wine." "All right, wait a moment." The waiter responded and was about to find a seat for them. Yang Zheong let the 2 guards sit down while he walked to Gu Shengru's table and asked, "Greetings, Marquis. My wrist is injured and hurts when I use force. Can you help me take a look?" Chapter 828 Information. Gu Chungrui raised his head and smiled at him. He gestured for him to sit down. "Wait a moment. We'll talk after I finish the chicken." After saying that, he ate his roast chicken. Yang Zheong could only sit down and watch him eat his dinner. After he finished eating, Gu Chungrui wiped his hands before checking on him. He replied, "You overstretched your muscles, and it hasn't been repaired properly. Prepare a bottle of ointment and apply it once every morning and evening. Don't catch a cold or use too much strength. You'll be fully recovered in a month." "Will safflower oil do?" "Yes, it's a small matter. Don't worry." After Gu Chungrui finished speaking, he stuffed a piece of paper into his hand, stood up to pay the bill, and left. The people who were staring at him immediately followed him out. Yang Zheong quickly held his hands and hid the note in his sleeve. He returned to his seat and quickly finished his meal before leaving. Finally, he found an empty alley and opened the note. Just 2 sentences. Linger, the fugitive slave of the Fong residence, is now a servant girl in the casino. Zhou Huaiming left Jigong Mountain and waited. "Prince, what should we do now?" one of the guards asked. "The person in pretending to be seems to be a widower who lives alone. Let's go to the casino and bring Linger out to interrogate her." Yang Zhang replied. After saying that, the 3 of them went straight to the casino. However, they did not enter directly. Instead, they went to the back door in the name of the patrol team to ask for water. It was still early. The casino workers were either resting or waiting in front. Only Linger, who was making the fire, happened to be here. When she saw the 3 officers, she thought that they were there to arrest her and immediately ran out in fear. Yang Zhang grabbed her wrist and asked, "You're Linger, right? Marquis and Lu wanted us to pick you up. Come with us." Linger was stunned after hearing that. Although she didn't fully believe it, she didn't dare to escape. Yang Zhang heaved a sigh of relief. The 3 men brought her directly into a small courtyard not far away. After arriving at the small courtyard, Yang Zhang immediately flashed his identity token. When Linger saw his identity, she knew the person who could avenge her sister was here. She cried out loud. Yang Zheong was not in a hurry to interrogate her. Instead, he waited for her to stop crying before asking, "Tell me, what do you know? Don't hide anything."
Yes.
Linger nodded and told him everything she knew. It was the same as what she had told Gu Chungrui before, but more detailed. Yang Zheong went silent for a moment. "What about Mrs. Fong? Is there anything unusual about her?" he asked. "Does it count if their relationship is very cold?" "Cold? Yes, I heard that ever since young master was imprisoned, madam and master have never slept together again." "Think again. What else?" "There really isn't. My elder sister was eavesdropping and didn't hear much clearly." Yang Xiang nodded and left a guard to guard her. He quietly returned to the relay station with another guard. Just as he changed his clothes, Lord Fong and Lord Chun arrived with a group of officials. On the other hand, once they left, Lin Yifan let the servant girl, who was the original firekeeper, go back and used her family to threaten her to hide the matter. At the foot of Jigong Mountain, Zhou Huaiming had figured out everything that had happened on the mountain after a round of interrogation. They also found out a lot of Fong Tongpan's private information that implicated Lord Chen. After returning to the city at night, he sneaked into the relay station and told them about the situation on the mountain and what Fong Tongpan had done over the years. After hearing this, King Xian felt a lingering fear. Qianzhou province was nearly about to become an independent kingdom. After that, he gave his gold medal to Zhou Huaiming. We're being watched too closely now. It's not easy for us to leave. You go and mobilize the troops. Remember to investigate thoroughly. If there are spies, get rid of them as well. Chapter 829, Asking for Guidance, noted. Zhou Huaiming responded, and with the cooperation of King Xian, he quietly brought the gold medal back to the relay station. He brought the person he had caught earlier to the military camp. After flushing out all the spies, Zhou Huaiming brought the army back to Qianzhou province. After King Xian received the news, he immediately ordered Zhou Huaiming to lead his men and surround all the official residences in the Qianzhou province. Lord Chen and Lord Fong were directly locked up in the cell. King Xian personally guarded and interrogated them. Zhou Huaiming, Yang Ziyang, and the military guard Lord Tian began interrogating the other officials, including Mrs. Fong and young Master Fong. However, there was no need to interrogate Mrs. Fong and young Master Fong. Once they revealed their identities, they told them everything they knew. Lord Fong and Lord Chen's crimes of corruption and bribery have also been exposed. After knowing that Mrs. Fong had confessed, the remaining officials knew that it was useless to hide it, so they confessed everything. Next, the county magistrates of the following counties were all removed, except for the two newly appointed ones. Even the county magistrate, the chief clerk, and the constable were all involved. In short, it involved nearly everyone. Of course, this mainly referred to corruption. As for the spies, there were only Lord Fong and two generals from the military camp. The rest were the servants sent to the various manors. Most were concubines and maids. However, only Lord Fong and his two trusted aides knew about the weapon storage. The other officials only knew that he was secretly mining copper. Everyone received dividends, which was why they had hidden it for so long. Knowing that the matter was too severe, King Xian directly reported it to the emperor. The reply he received was that Lord Fong and the others were naturally sentenced to death, including his concubines and children. Lord Chen and the other officials were also sentenced to death, and their families were exiled to the southwest. The three closest kins of relation were prohibited from participating in any scholar's examinations. All of his assets were handed over to the national treasury. At the same time, Lin Yifun's investigation of the Liu family also ended. Originally, he had a good impression of Liu Yifei, and the Liu family didn't find any problems. However, after being implicated by Lord Chun, Gu Chengrui felt regretful for a while and could only choose someone else to replace him. On this day, after setting up the medical center here, Gu Chengrui went to look for King Xian. "Greetings, Your Highness. You may rise. You contributed greatly to this matter. How are things going on your side?" King Xian personally helped him up and asked after arranging for him to sit down. "Your Highness, I'm done here. I'm here to ask you how you will settle the bandits in Lion Camel Ridge. You can make the decision, according to the Emperor. What do you think?" Gu Chengrui did not hide anything and told him his thoughts. If they choose to farm, at most, more than 10 people will be assigned to one place. Otherwise, they can easily cause trouble if they gather together. This is also what I'm worried about. However, according to what you said, it's possible to scatter them all. Ask them what they think. Settle it as soon as possible so that nothing else will happen. They'll have to trouble the prince to come with me. It's easier to be convinced with someone from the royal family present. Don't forget that you are also a member of the royal family. You have to call me uncle. King Xian smiled. My slip of the tongue, but the prince's appearance will be more useful. You guys can go together. You guys can discuss it more later. Thank you, Your Highness. After that, they chatted about the situation in Qianzhou province. After making an appointment with Yang Ziyang, Gu Chungrui returned to the inn and prepared some gifts for Tiger and the others. It was mainly food, drinks, clothes, and cotton clothes. Chapter 830. Following the next morning, after the two of them met up, they brought a total of 10 guards in 10 carriages toward Lion Camel Ridge. Haha, Brother Gu is finally here. Tiger laughed heartily when he saw them. I've been waiting for you for days. I have no choice. Xinzhou province has been a bit lively recently. I have to make way for you. After Gu Chungrui finished speaking, he introduced Yang Zhang to him. Greetings, Prince Xian. Tiger was stunned for a moment and quickly bowed. Get up. Chungrui has praised you a lot along the way for your righteousness. Yang Zhang smiled and helped him up. Brother Gu, you flatter me. The people on the mountain are all brothers in distress. I'll help whoever I can. This is already rare. At least, it's better than those officials in Qianzhou. If you put it that way, I must admit that the officials of Qianzhou are just a bunch of animals. After returning to the stronghold, Tiger immediately ordered all the meat to be cooked and gathered all the brothers in the stronghold. Only then did he bring them into the meeting hall. Brother, has it been peaceful on the mountain recently? Gu Chungrui asked politely after sitting down. It has. I got rid of those with spies, and they're all obedient now. That's good. Have you discussed the matter with your brothers? We discussed it. There are about 7,000 people on the mountain. After the disaster, about 5,000 people came up the mountain. Most of them were homeless disaster victims who planned to go home and continue farming. There are more than 2,000 bachelors. Most of them wanted to go to the military camp to gain experience. There is also a small group of about 200 people who want to go out and open a bodyguard agency to do some serious business. Can a marquis have 100 private soldiers or guards? Asked Tiger. Gu Chungrui looked at Yang Zhang. He was really not sure about this. Yang Zhang nodded. There is indeed such a rule. Why do you want to follow Gu Chungrui? After the disaster, I'm afraid I'm homeless, even if I want to go home now. Therefore, we and our direct descendants might as well follow the Marquis and protect him as he spreads the vaccine smoothly. As for whether or not we can stay with you in the end, it depends on my lord's wishes. Tiger nodded. Do you know that guards are also family slaves? Yang Zhang asked in surprise. I know. A person's life is only a few decades. It's worth it to be able to do something meaningful. Yang Zhang looked at Gu Chungrui with admiration. They had only met twice, but he had already conquered a prominent bandit leader. He was really impressed. Gu Chungrui was also very surprised. He nodded and replied. Just like you said, let's promote the vaccine first. I will also strictly restrict you along the way. After this is over, if you can stand this kind of restricted life, then sign a contract and come home with me. If you can't accept it, I'll arrange another place for you guys. What do you think? No problem, then it's settled. We can take advantage of the food and wine you brought to have a good gathering. Tomorrow, we will start splitting our travel expenses and disband. Admirable, bold, and decisive. I'm a little envious of Chungrui now. Yang Zhang gave Tiger a thumbs up. You flatter me. Please sit while I go outside and greet my brothers. After Tiger finished speaking, he stood up and walked out. After he left, Gu Chungrui looked at Lin Tian and the others. Go out and take a walk. Keep an eye on them. See if any people don't mean what they say. Chapter 831. Disbandment. Are you saying that someone will sabotage it? Yang Zhang looked at Gu Chungrui in surprise. I'm not sure, but there are lazy people everywhere. They might not be willing to see the stronghold disband. In short, it's better to be careful. I understand. Lin Tian turned around and walked out. The kitchen was the only place that could cause large-scale destruction. Therefore, he brought two brothers with him and watched the kitchen surroundings. They didn't expect that they would really catch someone who was about to drug the wine. You're courting death. Lin Tian grabbed the poison from him. What poison is this? He asked, glancing at the poison in the paper bag. It's not poison. It's just ginger powder to warm the body. Is that so? Have a taste first. After Lin Etienne finished speaking, he was about to pour it into his mouth. The man was shocked. He pushed him with all his strength and turned around to run out. As soon as he went out, he was blocked by Lin Yifan. "Hand him over to his chief," Lin Etienne said. "He should handle his own people. My lord, please take a look at this medicine." He brought the medicine to Gu Chungrui. "Someone really did it," Yang Zhang said. "It's normal." After Gu Chungrui finished speaking, he took the medicine and carefully identified it. "This is a self-made knockout powder. It will increase the effect when mixed with alcohol. It looks like he wants to knock everyone out." At this moment, Tiger walked in with a man whose face was swollen from being beaten. "Did he confess? What's the situation?" Gu Chungrui asked. "He confessed. They just disliked that the money given to them was too little, so they wanted to knock everyone out and run away with the money." Tiger replied, "Oh, how much is the dismissal fee?" 20 taels for each strong laborer, 10 taels for each woman and child," Tiger replied. "This is already quite good. The government only gave 5 taels of silver to each person." Yang Zhang commented, "He's wild. He thinks the mountains are rich. How do we deal with this situation?" Tiger asked, "Is there a lot of them?" "There are 34 of them with him," said the tiger. "How about banishment to the army?" Yang Zhang looked at Gu Chungrui and asked, "Sure. Give them the silver and make them follow the exiles to the border." Gu Chungrui nodded in agreement. If these people were arranged to be in a village, they might do something wrong anyway. It was better to let the army manage them. "Hurry up and thank the prince and marquis for sparing your life." Tiger kicked the man. After the man got up, he immediately kowtowed 3 times. Only then did Tiger take the person away. In the evening, everyone had a farewell dinner together. Some cried, some made a fuss, and some fought. In short, they expressed their reluctance in various ways. The next morning, Tiger opened the warehouse and distributed the silver to everyone. At the same time, Lin Etienne returned to the prefecture and called some soldiers and officials over. He directly arranged for the people who planned to go down the mountain to farm at various places. They also sent soldiers to bring them over. Those who wanted to be soldiers were directly incorporated into the garrison. Those who wanted to open a bodyguard agency had also made their record. Tiger and the others naturally prepared this as well. Finally, the exiled people and their families were escorted back to the prefecture by the officials. After finishing his work, Tiger pulled Gu Chungrui to the side and said, "Other than the silver that was distributed, there are also some antiques and jewelry, as well as the stolen money from the magistrate's corruption. What should we do with those?" "Sure, but tell me what you think first." Chapter 832, Receiving the News. "I want to keep it, but there are too many. We can't take them away, so we can only give them up." Tiger replied with a conflicted expression. After Gu Chungrui heard that, he pondered momentarily and said, "Bring your brothers to pick out some now. Each of you will take 5 items. I will arrange the rest." "All right, well, go now." Tiger replied happily. He led his team to the warehouse and started picking. After they finished picking, more than half of the things inside were gone. After they left, Gu Chungrui asked Zhou Ying to collect the remaining jewelry, gold, and silver. After reporting to Prince Xian, Gu Chungrui and the rest rushed to the next province. On the way, he would buy some old cotton clothes and quilts for beggars. He would even buy some coarse grain for them. Tiger and the others saw it and remembered it. He was also satisfied with Gu Shengrui's handling of the matter. Although their treasures were stolen goods, they worked hard to save them bit by bit. To be honest, they were really afraid that those treasures would be squandered away again if they handed them over to the officials. They felt it was not bad to put it in Gu Shengrui's hands to help the poor. Perhaps it could even accumulate some virtue for them. "Tiger, have you not gotten married all these years?" Gu Chungrui turned his head and asked curiously. "Who would want to marry a bandit? Moreover, we've always been afraid that our identities would be exposed and we'd be hunted down by the Marquis of Dingon. So we've always been single." "I see. When things settle down in the future, you should hurry up and find a wife. Whoever gets married, report it to me. He'll give each of you 100 taels of silver as a settling allowance." "Marquis, what about us? Lin Tian said. Same treatment. However, you have to hurry up. If they return to the residence, there won't be enough girls left in the residence. After I return this time, they'll go and beg mistress. When the time comes, they'll ask master to put in a good word for me. No problem. We'll officiate the wedding for you. Gu Chengrui said. Brothers, you heard that, right? We have to hurry up. If we meet a suitable person on the way, we'd better act quickly. Tiger turned around and shouted. We heard you. Someone immediately echoed loudly. Those who didn't hear it quickly understood what was happening and were elated. Gu Chengrui saw that they were happy and laughed along with them. On the other end, after consulting the emperor, Yang Zhang brought a large amount of jewelry and calligraphy back to the capital. As for the gold and silver, he left them there. King Xian temporarily stayed in Qianzhou to deal with all the affairs there, waiting for a new official to take office. As for Zhou Huaiming, he divided all the weapons into 3 parts and sent them to the southwest, Dongyang province, and the north border. After settling the Qianzhou incident, Gu Shengrui's journey was smooth sailing. The emperor heaved a huge sigh of relief once King Hu's secret armory had been destroyed. Half a month later, just as the north border received the weapons, King Hui received the news that Lord Lu and the others had been completely eradicated. He was so angry that he fainted. Master Lu was his confidant, one of the few people he could trust, and who had the ability to carry out his bidding. Those weapons were the bargaining chips for his cooperation with the northern continent. How could he cooperate now if he lost his weapons just like that? Most importantly, they had supplied the Zhou army with those weapons, which made them even more powerful. After waking up, he looked at his trusted aide, Eunuch Ma. Do you know what happened? How did Guard Lu get exposed? We couldn't find anything. However, when we were at Pingguang residence, our people tried to assassinate Gu Chengrui. If I'm not wrong, I'm afraid he discovered something. You can stay in the guest house and have a good rest. We'll talk later. After Zhouing finished speaking, she asked someone to bring him to the guest room and returned to the main courtyard with Gu Chengrui. While he was washing up, Zhouing went to the kitchen to make some arrangements. Because there were too many additional people, Zhouing asked the kitchen to cook a big pot of dishes and steamed rice. Even Gu Chengrui only had 2 more drumsticks than the normal. After he finished eating, Zhouing poured him a glass of water. What's up with that Gu Zhang? Can he be trusted? Yes, I saved him when I was in Liuzhou. I've signed a death contract with him. Death contract? He's not an ordinary person, is he? Yes, the Gu family's business in Liuzhou province is not tiny, and he is the family's eldest son. However, since they were young, he and his mother had never been favored at home. The old madam who had been protecting him had passed away, and his mother had been killed. His wife had sought refuge with his brother, and he had even discovered that the 2 children were not his. He was just about to take revenge when he was schemed against by his father. If I hadn't discovered it in time, he would have died of excessive blood loss that night. Chapter 834 Experiences. That's really tragic. Zhouing commented in shock. Indeed. He wanted to take revenge, so he signed a contract with me. There's no need for this. I prefer him not dragging us down. He's mainly interested in my skincare cream and is afraid I won't give it to him for nothing. Another reason is that he wants to take revenge personally and crush his family's business, making them poor for the rest of their lives. He's a ruthless person. You have to be more careful in the future. It's good to be careful. All right, what are you going to do with Tiger and the others? It's cold now, but they can still squeeze in. If it's summer, they definitely won't be able to stay. That's exactly what I wanted to say. They'll go back and see if I can buy another courtyard nearby and arrange for them to stay there. All right, they'll get Uncle Nyo to keep an eye on this matter. At this moment, Guogua walked out while groaning. Gu Chengrui went forward to carry her. Guogua, did you just wake up? Do you still remember father?
Father.
Guogua glanced at him and called out with a lack of interest. Then, She stretched out her arm to Zhou. After Zhou took it, Guogua immediately climbed onto her shoulder and stared at her in a daze. She's not fully awake yet. She was woken up by the voices outside. Mrs. Lin replied. Gu Chungrui heard the loud voices of Tiger and the others. He went forward and patted her back. He looked at Zhou and said, "Take her to sleep. I have to go to the palace to report on the situation of this trip." "Go, come back early." Zhou nodded. After he left and she coaxed Guogua to sleep, she arranged for Shizhu to make a trip to the manor and transport some rice and flour. She also asked Nyofugue to look for a courtyard outside. On the other end, after Gu Chungrui saw the emperor, he bowed and handed over the names of the people in charge of the various medical centers. This humble subject has set up medical centers in 10 provinces. There are still 12 more. We'll have to wait until the new year. It's already fast enough. The emperor smiled. He walked down and said, "Take a seat. It's been hard on you. Not only do you have to be busy with the medical centers, but you are also busy eliminating spies." "My duty." Gu Chungrui sat down after he finished speaking. After the emperor sat down, he asked about the situation in various places in detail. "What do you think of the conduct of the officials in those places? Are there any people who are tyrannical and lawless?" To be honest, they would receive a letter in advance every time I went there, so I didn't find anything too overboard. I did find 2 people selling fake medicine. I've already handed this matter over to the officials. I believe we'll get something after the new year. It's probably because of what happened in Qianzhou that scared them. That's possible. All the officials in Qianzhou, except for the 2 new ones, have been eliminated. It's quite a shocking display to the rest. Even if we scare them, they still have to be punished. Who would have thought that the officials of Qianzhou would be so lawless? If we don't punish them, it won't be enough to appease the people. By the way, how are the people's lives recovering? The emperor asked. I think it's not too bad. No matter how fat or thin they are, at least they're in good spirits. Especially in the fertile plains, the yield of wheat per acre can reach 800 pounds, and the yield of rice can reach 1,000 pounds. This way, we won't have to worry about food. 1,000 pounds per acre. Are you sure? I heard it from a real farmer. It shouldn't be wrong. They also raise fish in their paddy fields. I think it has something to do with this. Fish in the paddy fields? Yes, I heard that fish eat the insects and weeds in the paddy field. I see. Let's try it next year and see how it works. After that, Gu Chungrui told the emperor about what he had seen and heard in various places. After they were done chatting, Gu Chungrui took his leave. Chapter 835 Reward the next day. During the morning court session, the emperor rewarded Gu Chungrui, King Xian and his son, Zhou Huaiming, and the others for their efforts in eliminating the traitors and settling the bandits. King Xian, his son, and Zhou Huaiming got gold, silver, and jewelry. When it came to Gu Chungrui, he directly gave them the original King Rui's residence. After Zhou received the news, she asked in disbelief, "Did you hear wrongly? King Rui's residence is a 5-entry mansion. It has 9 large courtyards and a total of more than 600 rooms." I didn't hear wrongly. It's probably because of Tiger and the others. It just so happens that it's not far away. I want Tiger and the others to move a group of people over first. Firstly, it's to look after the house there. Secondly, it'll be more spacious for them to live here. All right, then you decide. Buy a few more maids to clean the house. Don't let the house fall apart. Okay, I'll go over and arrange it myself. Do you want to come along? No thanks. I have to do the accounting for the restaurant and the manor at the end of the year. I'm busy these 2 days. After Zhou finished speaking, she gave him 10,000 taels of silver and let him make his own arrangements. Zhou continued with her accounts. On the afternoon of the 30th, the total income of the restaurants and workshops in the countryside was also out. The total income was 1,080,000 taels of silver. Sun Hongliang's cake shop also gave her 333,000 taels of silver. This made Zhou feel as if she had suddenly become rich. With a stroke of her pen, she gave Nyofugue and Sun Hongliang 1,000 taels each. As for the managers of the various restaurants, the heads of the various villages, and the main technical staff like Uncle Nien, they received 100 taels each. The waiters in the restaurant and the long-term workers in the manor, including Tiger and the others, received 10 taels each. The maids and servants in the manor received 2 taels each. Everyone was naturally satisfied with the reward, especially Nyo Fugue and Sun Hongliang. They didn't expect her to reward them with 1,000 taels of silver, equivalent to their monthly salary for a year. After Gu Zheng heard the news, he was also amazed by Zhou Ying's generosity. However, this also made him more determined. At least, she would not exploit him for nothing. Gu Chengrui came back and asked with a smile, "Miss, do I get a reward too? You're not working for me. If you want a reward, you'll have to ask the emperor. However, I've prepared a red packet for you during the new year." After Zhou Ying finished speaking, she handed it to him directly. Gu Chengrui took it curiously. He opened it and took a look. There were 2,000 taels of silver notes inside. He immediately smiled. Zhou Ying rolled her eyes at him and gave him another red packet. "This is for Cheng Lin. You can give it to him. You've thought it through. It'll go over now." After Gu Chengrui finished speaking, he carefully put away his red packet and went to Gu Chenglin's courtyard. He saw him cleaning his room in his courtyard and asked, "Why are you doing it yourself? I would also do it myself when I was in the academy. I'm used to it." "That's good. You can take care of yourself. In the future, you can live without servants. You can also learn to cook a few dishes you like to eat when you're free. That way, you can make them yourself if you want to eat them. You don't have to ask for help." Gu Chengrui handed him a red packet. "It's the new year. Your sister-in-law and I are giving you some money." "Thank you, cousin and sister. You're welcome. Change into new clothes later. Well, stay up for the new year tonight." Gu Chengrui turned around and left after he finished speaking. After he left, Gu Chenglin opened it and took a look. There was a banknote worth 1,000 taels inside. Although he did not lack silver, he still treasured this banknote and kept it carefully. Chapter 836 Study Tour at Night. Because too many people were in the residence, everyone did not eat together. However, the food was great. Zhou Ying and the others had 8 dishes and 1 soup, while the servants had 6 dishes and 1 soup. Before the banquet began, the couple walked around and gave a few words of blessing before returning to the main courtyard. The family of 3, including Gu Chenglin, had a lively New Year's Eve dinner. After dinner, the 3 of them played with Guagua for a while. When she was sleepy, Zhou Ying brought Guagua back to the room. Gu Chengrui asked Gu Chenglin questions about his life and studies. "I'll say it again," he said after knowing he was fine. "Your sister has a special status now. You must be careful when making friends and doing things." "I understand. The emperor has also asked our teacher to take care of me. He said he would let me formally acknowledge Grand Scholar Sun as my teacher after becoming a scholar." Gu Chengrui was deep in thought after hearing that. It seemed like the emperor would arrange for Grand Scholar Sun to stand behind Gu Wanning, or rather, the eldest prince. He nodded. "Very good. Learn well. Don't let down the emperor's goodwill." "I understand." Gu Chenglin nodded. "By the way, how's the situation outside?" he asked. "Are you curious?" "Ian. The furthest I've been out since birth was to return to my hometown. I haven't left the capital yet. How about going out with me next year?" Gu Chengrui suggested. "Really?" "Yes, but it'll take at least half a year. If you want to go to the academy and ask your teacher for instructions. Ask him to plan a course for you. Don't come back and be unable to keep up with the progress." "I understand." After that, Gu Chengrui told him about what he had seen along the way. It was not until midnight that the 2 of them returned to their rooms to sleep. On the 2nd day of the Lunar New Year, when second Uncle Gus family came over to pay their New Year's greetings, Gu Chengrui mentioned to Gu Chengxi about the study tour. Before Gu Chengxi could say anything, second Uncle Gu replied with surprise, "Yes, as long as you don't think he's a burden, let him go. He's not young anymore. It's time for him to go out and see the world." Firstly, the family was counting on Gu Chengxi to get an official rank. With Gu Shengru's help, he would be able to proceed on his journey more smoothly. Another reason was that Gu Shengru's status was getting higher and higher. If they did not take the initiative to stick to him, they might be pushed aside at any time. Gu Qingxi was naturally willing and quickly nodded. All right, let your headmaster know. You guys, get ready. Gu Qingxi nodded repeatedly with vigor. Gu Qinglin was also very happy after hearing that. This way, he would have a companion when traveling. Zhou Ying naturally understood that he was paving the way for Gu Wanning. Since Gu Qingxi was a decent man, she did not mind helping him. On the 6th day of the month, after the morning court session, Gu Chengrue went to the emperor and said, Your Majesty, I've decided to leave the capital tomorrow. They'll continue setting up medical centers in various places. I'll have to trouble you for this. The sooner it's done, the sooner the people can benefit from it. The emperor handed him a gold medal and added, Xiao Hong will gather information for you in advance. Let him go with you this time, but let him be in the dark while you are in the open. At the same time, investigate the local officials. If they go too far, you can deal with them directly. Gu Chengrue was stunned for a moment. He took the gold medal and said, Thank you for your trust, Your Majesty. However, we can make the decision for small matters. You have to make the decision for the big ones. The emperor smiled and said, Oh, you. All right, if there's anything troublesome, we can ask for Mother God's help to send a message for us. However, give 1,000 taels of incense money every time you ask for her help. When you come back, I will reimburse you. Chapter 837 set off. I have yet to meet the first prince. I wonder if I can go over and take a look. Gu Chengrue said, Let's go over and have breakfast together. Yang Yang should be awake now. After saying that, the two of them went to the harem together. They found the eldest princess and the first prince happily playing together when they arrived. They couldn't communicate with each other, but they were having a good time. Gu Chengrue smiled happily when he saw this. He looked at the first prince. At this moment, the first prince had already grown into a healthy, plump boy. Then, he gave Gu Wanning 2 red packets and said, It's for the 2 children. Then I will thank you on behalf of Yang Yang and Nan Nan. Gu Wanning took it and said, No worries. When Gu Chengrue said this, he told them he would bring Gu Chenglin out. The emperor nodded in agreement. This is a good thing. It's a good opportunity for him to understand the customs of the Ming dynasty and see the world. Sorry to trouble you. If he doesn't listen, you can teach him a lesson. Whatever is fine as long as he's alive. Gu Wanning nodded in agreement. Don't worry, Chenglin is much more mature than before. He won't throw a tantrum anymore. After chatting for a while, Gu Chengrue left the palace after eating. When he returned home, he first held a wedding for Lin Etian and Shi Zhu. In the afternoon, Gu Chengrue started to make arrangements for the trip. For this new trip, because Guard Xiao was leading the way, Gu Chengrue did not bring Tiger and the others. Instead, he chose 20 bodyguards besides Lin Etian and Lin Yifan. After sending them off the next day, Zhou Ying saw that Shi Zhu had become silent. She stepped forward and said, Follow them. You can help take care of their basic necessities. Mistress, there's no need. The residents, Shi Zhu said with a red face. Without waiting for her to finish, Zhou Ying pushed her away. Go ahead. There are so many guards in the residence now. Don't worry about me. But, if you say but again, I'll go back on my word. As soon as Zhou Ying finished speaking, Shi Zhu immediately ran out.
Humph.
Zhou Ying smiled. To be honest, I really couldn't tell when the two of them fell in love with each other and actually got married just like that. Qiu Xiang said sourly. Maybe early on. Zhou Ying replied thoughtfully. If she remembered correctly, they had officially started to interact with each other 3 years ago, after they were nearly assassinated by the Ginkgo group. Thinking of this, she thought of Xiaxiang. What a pity. She looked at Qiu Xiang and said, If you're envious, many bachelors are in our residence now. Take your time to choose. If there's someone suitable, let me know. Chapter 838 Conferred Empress. I only know the raw materials. I don't know the specific production process. Mistress, aren't we selling skin cream? Gu Zheng paused for a moment and asked hesitantly. Yes, but it's impossible for a shop to only sell one or two products. Otherwise, we can only open a workshop to supply others. That way, our profits will be much lower. You should know the bottles and jars used to make rouge, right? Zhouing asked. I know. Buy 10 sets of them, and remember to buy some small bottles of moisturizer. In addition, design the pattern on the bottle. The brand will be Madam. In the future, all our products will use this brand, and all our bottles will be custom-made. Gu Zheng nodded thoughtfully after hearing that. Soon, his eyes lit up. The goods with a logo were much easier to recognize and also easier to promote. It seemed that there was a reason why their restaurant's business was so popular. Remember to buy some rice ingredients. Zhouing handed him 100 taels of silver.
Yes.
After Gu Zheng left, Zhouing had someone clean up the wing room in the east courtyard. She took out some dried flowers, beeswax, and the flower essential oil that she had soaked in earlier. After Gu Zheng bought many different types of rice, Zhouing took some of them and soaked them. The next day, after everything was ready, Zhouing brought Gu Zheng and the newly bought women to the wing room to start the experiment. The first was face powder. They just needed to mix rice flour with different colors, so it was relatively simpler. Then, there was the rouge made from pollen, essential oil, and beeswax. Finally, there was the moisturizer. This was actually quite simple, but the base oil was a little high-end. She took it all out of her inner space. After she was done, Zhouing shook her stiff neck and said, "Let's do these first. You guys practice according to the ratio. When you're familiar with it, they'll teach you new ones." She looked at Gu Zheng and added, "If it's a workshop, it'll be set up in the new manner. When the time comes, you can arrange it in advance and prepare everything." Understood. They'll make the arrangements now. All right, if you need money, go to Butler Nyo. All of it will be from the house.
Yes.
After Gu Zheng nodded, he went out to work excitedly. Meanwhile, Zhouing monitored the women's rouge, cosmetics, and skin moisturizer preparation. After they mastered it, they deconstructed the formula of the handmade soap and made a variety of soaps. For example, perilla soap, rose soap, honey soap, and bamboo charcoal soap. She even asked Gu Qingrui for a prescription for shampoo and made shampoo and conditioner. 2 months later, the shop finally opened when the peach blossoms were in full bloom. Previously, because Zhouing had specially distributed a batch of trial products to the wealthy ladies, the business was quite hot when the shop opened. In particular, all kinds of soaps, moisturizers, shampoos, hair tonics, and other new products were basically out of stock every day. At the same time, Zhouing took out some commonly used rose seeds, luotian seeds, forget-me-not seeds, and lavender seeds and planted them in the manor. She even got Gu Qingrui to buy 2 manors in the south to grow aloes. It was the Empress' death anniversary in the blink of an eye. After the Emperor personally went to the Imperial Mausoleum to pay his respects to the Empress, he sent out 2 pieces of shocking news the next morning. The first was to confer the title of Empress on Gu Wanning. The second was to put the eldest princess under Gu Wanning's name. Those who were thinking about the position of Empress wanted to object, but because of the existence of the first prince, they could not. However, the new consort selection was once again put on the agenda after the Empress conferring ceremony. Chapter 839. Informing. After Zhouing coaxed Guagua to sleep that afternoon, she was drenched in sweat. After returning to her room, she entered the interspace, wanting to shower and change her clothes. However, as soon as she entered the interspace, she heard a hurried cry for help. She quickly ran to the storeroom and took a look. She did not expect that it was a maid in the northern border Mother God Temple who asked for help. The reason was that old General Zhou was poisoned and unconscious. General Zhou was ambushed, and his whereabouts were unknown. She asked her to think of a way to save them. After Zhouing received the letter, her heart skipped a beat. She quickly looked at the general's mansion and saw old General Zhou lying unconscious on the bed. Several doctors were treating him. However, No one could tell what poison old General Zhou had been poisoned by at the moment, and they were running around in circles anxiously. However, after knowing that old General Zhou wouldn't lose his life quickly, he began to look for Zhou Huayu. Finally, she found his corpse in a small river. No, it wasn't a corpse yet. He was still breathing weakly, but he was seriously injured. If he was not treated in time, he could die at any time. She brought him into her inner space, gave him a bottle of glucose, and started treating his wounds. Unfortunately, she didn't know how to suture, so she could only stop the bleeding and bandage him up. She looked for Gu Chengruei and saw him grading papers with some people guarding him outside. She sent him a voice transmission to greet him and bring him into her interspace in the small operating theater. This is Zhou Huayu. Hurry up and see if he can still be saved. What happened that he suffered such a serious injury? Gu Chengruei looked at Zhou Huayu, whose face was as pale as a ghost, and asked with a grave expression. Zhouing did not hide anything and told him about the border. Gu Chengruei nodded. We'll go and treat his wound now. You report to the emperor immediately and see what's happening at the border. Without the father and son, I'm afraid the border will fall. All right, let me know when you're done. After Zhouing finished speaking, she sent the news to the emperor through the Mother God Temple. The emperor, playing with the two children at the Empress Dowager's place, stood up immediately when he received her message. Even the expression on his face was flustered. What's wrong, Your Majesty? The Empress Dowager asked hurriedly. Did something happen? Imperial Grandmother, I suddenly remembered that there are still things to deal with. They'll leave the children to you. As for the selection, do as you see fit, but try to delay it until after autumn. The weather is too hot now, and am not in the mood to deal with this matter. The emperor left in a hurry after he finished speaking. When the Empress Dowager saw this, she didn't ask further. She was getting on in years now, and all she wanted to do was take care of her two great-grandchildren and live happily in her later years. After the emperor returned to the study, he entered the bedroom. He chased everyone out in the name of a lunch break. He bowed 90 degrees deeply and said, Please tell me the details, Mother God. Zhouing had already discovered through her investigation that King Hui had formed an alliance with the northern continent. The condition was that they would take in the 3 prefectures of the North Pass, and the 2 of them were currently at the border. This time, the spy poisoned old General Zhou, and Zhou Huayu fell into the trap set by King Hui and the others. The first prince of the northern continent will launch a large-scale attack on the Ming dynasty tomorrow. Without the commander, the outcome of the border could not be imagined. Therefore, Zhouing did not hide anything and told him everything about the border. The emperor couldn't help but curse after hearing this. What an idiot. After the 3 prefectures in the north are sent out, it's nothing but a wide stretch of flatland until the capital. Isn't this just like sending out the Ming dynasty? Chapter 840 Saving them. The corner of Zhou Ying's mouth twitched. Now is not the time to scold people, but to think of a way to solve the border problem as soon as possible. Otherwise, the moment the iron hooves entered the pass tomorrow, the soldiers and civilians at the border would suffer. After the emperor vented the anger in his heart, he naturally understood the main problem. He knelt and said, They'll have to trouble Mother God to help save the old and young general. I will arrange everything else as soon as possible, quickly. Even if I save them, they can't fight immediately. After Zhouing finished speaking, she continued to check the border to see if she could find anything. In the end, she learned from King Hui that the old general had been poisoned by a poison that had just been discovered on the northern continent called drunken dream death. As the name suggests, the poisoned person would quickly fall into a deep sleep, and their body would rapidly decline. If there were no antidote after 7 days, the person would die painfully in his sleep. Zhouing quickly searched the first prince's residence. She did not expect that she would really find the antidote. However, she was unsure about the amount, so she could only take all the antidotes and some of the old general's blood back. After returning to the villa, Gu Chengruei had already treated Zhou Huayu's injuries and removed his sterile clothes. To prevent my identity from being exposed, he asked when he saw her enter. I only carefully bandaged his wound and didn't suture it. Later, I'll leave some medicine for him and find a place for him to recuperate. As long as he can survive. By the way, I gave him a bottle of anti-inflammatory medicine. I'll change it for him after the glucose infusion. Got it. After Zhou finished speaking, she handed him 2 bottles and said, one is filled with the old general's blood. The other is most likely filled with the antidote. You can take a look later to see if it's right. Also, how much antidote does he need to take? All right, since there's nothing to do for a while, let's talk about it tonight. I have to go back quickly. It'll be troublesome if someone finds out. This is the last province, right? Yes, if nothing unexpected happens, they'll be able to go home in another 20 days. After Gu Qingrui finished speaking, he went forward to hug her and kissed her gently on the forehead. All right, be careful. After Zhou finished speaking, she let him out. She placed the 2 small bottles in his laboratory. After taking a simple shower, she changed Zhou Huai's medicine and hurriedly left the inner space. When she estimated that it was about time, she went in and removed the needle from him. At night, Zhou brought Guagua into the inner space and went to see Zhou Huayu. At this moment, his complexion was obviously much better, and there were no signs of a fever. She brought him some medicine, bandages, and fever pills and placed him directly into the mother temple at the border. The maid, who was still praying after her meal, was shocked when she saw a person descend from the sky. After Zhou Huayu landed on the ground, Zhou transmitted her voice to the 4 of them. This person is Zhou Huayu. You must take good care of him. You can leave or stay as you please when he wakes up. After saying that, she told them the usage and dosage of the medicine and left them 2 old hens, eggs, millet, and other supplements. Thank you, Mother God. Farewell. The maid replied excitedly. She had been guarding the Mother God temple for over 2 years, and this was the first time she had met Mother God. It seemed that there was hope for the border. At the same time, pure faith floated toward Zhou. Zhou smiled after receiving it, and then looked at Gu Qingrui. Seeing that he was ready, she sat down on the chair and read a book. After greeting him, she pulled him into her interspace. Chapter 841 Emperor's Expedition. I made some herbal tea. Do you want some? Zhou waited for him to stand firm and ask, Give me a cup. It's hot outside. Gu Qingrui replied. Zhou poured a cup for him. I've put the things in the laboratory for you. You can take a look for yourself later. I have to go and get busy. Okay, I'll call you when I'm done. Gu Qingrui nodded. However, he did not go straight to the laboratory after drinking the herbal tea. Instead, he went to see Guagua first before getting busy. On the other end, Zhou first fed the livestock in her interspace and harvested whatever she needed to harvest. Later, she carried a big watermelon back to the villa. After cutting and eating half of it, she was about to get busy when Gu Qingrui rushed down. The medicine you brought back is really the antidote. This is the amount of antidote I determined according to the concentration of the poison in the blood. You can give it to the old general directly later. Will he wake up immediately? King Hui and the others are planning to attack tomorrow morning. He will wake up in about 25 minutes, but his body will be very weak. He needs to recuperate for a few days. Understood. Have some watermelon. They'll send you out after you're done. Thanks. Gu Qingrui nodded. After that, he asked about the emperor's situation as he ate. In the afternoon, the emperor called Zhou Huaiming, King'an, and some generals into the palace. As for the final result, I missed it. However, there will definitely be something tomorrow morning. Gu Qingrui added worriedly, this battle will not be easy to fight. The king of the northern continent will personally lead the army. It will definitely increase the morale of the soldiers. In addition to King Hu's understanding of the Great Ming army, he would probably deal a fatal blow to the Zhou army. That's the emperor's business. We just need to ensure that the commoners don't suffer. That's true. After chatting for a while, Zhou sent Gu Qingrui back. She took the antidote he had prepared and went to the general's mansion in the north. At this moment, the manor was still brightly lit. The doctors took the general's blood and conducted various experiments. The patrol teams were very tight, and it was absolutely impossible for any spies to sneak in. Zhou went straight to General Zhou's room. Only a man in his 50s was in the room, staring at the map and studying it. Zhou did not know him, but she could guess his identity. He was old General Zhou's deputy general, Zhou Xinghe, also the old general's attendant back then. If her guess was correct, he was studying the map to determine where Zhou Huayu might appear. Zhou did not disturb him. Instead, she quickly fed the old general the antidote and half a glass of water. After ensuring he was awake, she retreated and carried Guagua out of her interspace to sleep. When Zhou woke up the next day, she received shocking yet expected news. The emperor was bringing Zhou Huaiming, the son of King An, the son of King Xian, and the others to lead the army personally. King Xian, King An, the original 7th prince, King Ning, Grand Scholar's son, and a few other essential officials were in charge of the country. Did they say when they were leaving? Zhou asked Niu Lirong. They have already mobilized the troops. I heard that they'll set off soon. See if there are any other fruits in the residence. Pick some high-quality ones and prepare some. Let's go to the palace together in the afternoon. Yes, mistress, Niu Lirong replied and turned around to leave. Meanwhile, Zhou brought Guagua to eat breakfast. As soon as she put down her bowl, Mingyu walked in with red eyes while carrying Zhuangzhuang. Chapter 342, Teaching her daughter, Have you had breakfast? Zhou stood up immediately and asked. I ate 2 mouthfuls. I really didn't expect that King Hui would betray his country. Mingyu said through gritted teeth. Now, her father-in-law and brother-in-law were in danger, and even Zhou Huaiming was going to the battlefield. If something happened to him, at the thought of this, she tightened her grip on Zhuangzhuang. Zhou saw this and knew that she was worried about Zhou Huaiming. However, she didn't know how to persuade him at this point. She replied, Don't we already know about King Hu's character? He's selfish, ruthless, and would do anything to achieve his goals. It's not like it's the first day you've met him. However, his ending will definitely not be good. Of course, even if the emperor doesn't kill him, the king of the northern continent will kill him sooner or later. Mingyu huffed. Are you busy today? If not, accompany me to the Mother God Temple. I have to pray for the emperor and the others. I hope Mother God can bless them so they can return safely. Let's do it tomorrow. It'll be cooler if we leave early. I plan to go to the palace to see Wanning later and talk to her so she won't get anxious. That's right. She's having the hardest time now. Let's go together later. Mingyu paused for a moment before nodding. Just as she felt sentimental, Zhuangzhuang and Guagua started fighting over a piece of beef jerky. Zhou immediately carried Guagua over. Guagua, he's a guest here. How can you bully Zhuangzhuang? Auntie, eat. Zhuangzhuang immediately agreed. Mine. Guagua immediately put the beef jerky in her hand and turned around. Mingyu was just about to speak when Zhou shook her head. She patted Guoguo's back and said, If you take it, I won't give you any good food in the future. When Guagua heard that, she turned to look at Zhuangzhuang. After hesitating for a while, she finally decided to give up her beef jerky. Zhuangzhuang was about to take it when she saw this. Zhou patted Guoguo's hand and said, Give your little brother a new one. Did you forget the lychee that your brother gave you last time? Only then did Guagua willingly take out a new one from her pocket and hand it to Zhuangzhuang. Zhuangzhuang was immediately happy. He took it and put it into his mouth. Although he couldn't bite it, just savoring it was enough. Mingyu was amused. She tapped his little nose and said, Getting food from someone else is best, right? I prepared many snacks for you at home, but you didn't eat them. Smells good. Eat. After Zhuangzhuang finished speaking, he handed the beef jerky to Mingyu's mouth. You eat it. Grind your little teeth properly. Mingyu shook his head. Guogua saw this and immediately handed the beef jerky to Zhou Ying's mouth. Mom, eat. I want a new one. Zhou Ying smiled. Guogua was stunned for a moment. She took out a stick and handed it to her with a reluctant expression. There's still Aunt Mingyu's. Zhouing said after taking it. Guogua immediately covered her pocket when she heard that. However, she looked at Mingyu and seemed to have thought of something. Ultimately, she took out a stick and handed it to Mingyu. When she covered her pocket again, she realized that it was gone. She immediately pouted and looked at Zhou Ying with an aggrieved expression. When Mingyu saw this, she immediately handed it to her. Auntie doesn't want to eat it. Guogua can keep it for herself. Try it. This is my new black pepper flavor. It's quite good. How about we eat melons later? Zhou Ying looked at Guogua. Melons? Guoguo's eyes lit up. Yes, melons. If you eat too much beef jerky, you'll get an ulcer. Have you forgotten that you can't eat anything if you have an ulcer? Chapter 843, comforting her. Guagua immediately pointed at the corner of her mouth with her little finger when she heard an ulcer. She had not forgotten the last time she had an ulcer. She didn't even want to open her mouth when she had to eat. Guagua is young, but she has a good memory, Mingyu said happily. When a lesson is profound, everyone will learn. Zhou Ying smiled. After that, the two of them chatted for a while. Zhuang and Guagua made no more noise because they were eating their snacks. Soon, the streets were filled with shouts, cheers, and orderly footsteps. Mingyu's expression immediately turned solemn. This was the sound of an expedition. Let's go. I'll accompany you to see Brother Zhou off, Zhou Ying said as she put Guogua down. No need. Sending off can only make people sad. Let's go into the palace later. Mingyu shook her head. Zhou Ying didn't try to persuade her anymore. She checked the fruits that Niu Lirong had prepared, and after confirming that there were no problems, she changed Guoguo's clothes before heading into the palace. The two of them first went to the Empress Dowager's place to deliver some fruits. However, the Empress Dowager was suffering from the summer heat and did not have much energy. The two of them politely exchanged a few words before leaving. They heard the eldest princess and the first prince's cries as soon as they entered the Phoenix Palace. Zhou Ying and Mingyu looked at each other and immediately carried their kids into the place. They saw the first prince and the eldest princess sitting on a sleeping mat and crying. Their nanny was comforting them softly while Gu Wanning leaned on the bed and wiped her tears. Nan, what's wrong with Yang Yang? Why is she crying? Let Annie take a look. Mingyu went forward and put Zhuang down. When the two children saw who had come, they immediately stopped crying. They didn't say anything and looked at them curiously, especially Yang Yang. She looked curiously at Zhuang and Guagua with her big, bright eyes and waved at them happily. Auntie, Guagua. After Nan greeted Mingyu, her eyes lit up when she saw Zhou Ying enter. We're here to see you again, our cute Nan. Tell me, why are you crying? Who made our little princess unhappy? Zhou Ying asked. She asked Niu Lirong to pass the fruit to Chuanxi. Cut the watermelons. It will chill us down. Yes, madam. After saying that, Chuanxi went down with the fruits. Guogua, go play with sister Nan and brother Yang Yang. Zhou Ying put Guogua down. Playing, Guogua responded and ran toward Nan. When Nan saw Guogua, she immediately pulled her along to pile up the building blocks. You're here. Gu Wanning walked over. After the two greeted her, Mingyu said, I came to see you because I thought you would be busy. I didn't expect you to be wiping your tears. Zhou Ying said, You are now the mistress of the harem. After crying, you should be strong to take care of all the affairs in the palace. It will also make the emperor and the Empress Dowager feel at ease. Gu Wanning knew that they were here to comfort her, and she nodded. Thank you. I'll get myself together as soon as possible. That's right. When a woman should be gentle like water, she should be gentle like water. However, when it's time to be strong, you must be as strong as a man. This is how we women should live. Zhou Ying added. Mingyu nodded repeatedly. That's right. Look at Huaiming. We've been married for over a year, but he hasn't even been home for 3 months. If you need anything in the future, let us know as soon as possible. The two of us will definitely help out. If we can't help out, my mother and the other aunts are still here. In any case, we won't let you be in a difficult position. Chapter 844, Climbing Up the Social Ladder. That's right. Just send someone over if you need us. If there's anything you don't understand in the palace, you can ask the Grand Empress Dowager. She's your anchor here. Zhou echoed. After hearing what you said, I suddenly feel much more confident. Gu Wanning smiled. You're a person with great capabilities. It's just that you're not used to suddenly taking on heavy responsibility. You'll get used to it slowly. Mingyu said. Only then did Gu Wanning relax. After that, they chatted for a while, ate 2 plates of watermelons with the 4 children, and played for a while. At noon, the 3 brought the 4 children together for lunch. After the meal, Gu Wanning rested for a while before returning to work. Mingyu and Zhou played with the children for half the afternoon. They left the palace with their children only when the weather cooled down. When Zhou entered her inner space at night, she focused on the border. Old General Zhou had already woken up. He closed the city gates, sealed the camp, and captured the spies. They had already found 3 spies. As for the northern continent soldiers who were shouting outside the city, no one paid any attention to them. However, if they attacked, they would be shot by fiery arrows, so they did not fight. As for Zhou Huayu, he had already woken up. However, because his injuries were too severe, he was still recuperating in the Mother Temple. Zhou looked at the Emperor and the others and found them camping in the wild. Zhou looked at Zhou Huaiming and the Emperor, tossing and turning, unable to fall asleep. She briefly conveyed the situation at the border to the Emperor before looking at Gu Chengrue. She wanted to explain the situation to him briefly, but she didn't expect him to be drinking with someone. Moreover, he was drinking happily. Just as she was about to retreat, Marquis, what do you think of the wine my daughter brewed? Magistrate Liu, who was sitting opposite Gu Chengrue, asked. Gu Chengrue paused for a moment. He twirled the wine glass in his hand and replied, It's quite good. It's refreshing and very suitable for drinking in the summer. Why don't you let my daughter follow you back and help brew some more? After Magistrate Liu finished speaking, he stood up and poured another cup for him with a flattering expression. Gu Chengrue was stunned. He shook his head repeatedly and said, No need. It's just wine. There are thousands of kinds worldwide, and drinking this for one meal is enough. If you want to say what I like the most, it's the wine brewed by my wife. It's so delicious that it leaves an endless aftertaste. The magistrate's expression froze for a moment. That's true. I've also heard that your wife is not only good at cooking but also superb at brewing wine. Moreover, the rouge and cosmetic products of the Madame series launched after the new year were exquisite, especially the skin cream. It's great at removing dryness, restoring vitality, detoxifying, and relieving pain. Many children are using it now. There are also all kinds of fragrant balms that are popular here. They are much more convenient than burning incense. Yes, she loves to fiddle with these things. It's her recognition to be liked by everyone. After that, the two bragged to each other for a while before Gu Chengrue returned to his room. As for the magistrate, after returning to the manor, his wife immediately approached him and asked, Hubby, how is it? Has Marquis and Liu agreed? No, I knew about the rumors that he doesn't like women but didn't expect him to be so uninterested. Magistrate Liu sighed and sat down. His wife poured him a cup of tea to sober him up. Forget it. Our daughter isn't leftover goods. Why does she have to be a concubine? What do you know? I've been a magistrate for 10 years here. If we don't act now, when can I enter the capital? But with Marquis and less relationship with the Emperor and Empress, it would be easy for us to enter the capital with just one word from him. Chapter 845 Verbal Order, but he doesn't like Exiner. We can't force him. At that time, if you anger him, forget about being promoted. It's already good enough that you don't drop your rank. This is a once-in-lifetime opportunity. It would be a pity to miss it. How about this? You buy some local souvenirs later and let Exiner dress up properly. Then, you and she will go and send him off. See how he would react. Besides, he is unfamiliar with this place. Ask our son to come back from the academy for 2 days and accompany him. Got it. Zhouing waited until they fell asleep before she retreated and looked for Gu Chongrui. He was ready to enter the interspace, sitting down on a chair obediently. Your peach blossoms have blossomed. You must be overjoyed, she teased as she pulled him into her space. If you continue spouting nonsense, they'll get angry, Gu Chongrui said with a fierce face. You have to be careful. I don't think the couple has given up. I know. Oh, right. Is Zhou Huayu awake? He's awake, but he can't move yet. Zhouing told him about the situation at the border. By the way, the emperor is coming along with the expedition. He set off early this morning. Got it. It won't be easy for others to deal with King Hui. Gu Chongrui nodded slowly. Keep an eye on Wanning and her son. Don't let them get bullied, he reminded her worriedly. I will. Zhouing nodded. Afterwards, Gu Chongrui asked about the situation at home and at the medical centers. After knowing that everything was fine, the two of them got busy. After they were done, the two of them ate a meal and took a shower together before going back to their rooms to sleep. With Zhou Ying's solemn reminder, Gu Chongrui escaped a trap that night. However, it was not Miss Signers but a servant girl in the courier station. In order to put an end to the magistrate's thoughts, Gu Chongrui sent the servant girl to the Red Chamber as an official slave. That merciless look really scared Magistrate Liu. On the other end, Zhouing kept an eye on the palace whenever she was free. She saw that Gu Wanning had already perked up and was handling her affairs in an orderly manner. As for the two children, they played well with the nanny and the Grand Empress Dowager, so Zhouing was relieved. 3 days later, Zhouing had just pulled Gu Chongrui into her interspace when he hugged her. Zhouing was stunned for a moment. She hugged his waist and asked, What's wrong? Did something happen? It's nothing. I thought I could go back and accompany you and Guagua, but I just received a verbal order from the Emperor today. He said that after I finish my work, he'll immediately rush to the border to be a military doctor and teach the military doctors at the border how to suture. That's good. This can reduce some losses. If there's anything, we can still contact each other through this inner space. That's the only way. They'll have to trouble you at home. It's fine as long as you're well. Let me know when you're leaving. They'll prepare some medicine, needles, and thread for you. All right. They'll go to the mountain to pick some urgently needed medicinal herbs. After Gu Chongrui said that, he brought a basket and went up the mountain. Zhouing looked at the border again, but the city gate remained closed. Although the northern continent continued challenging them, their arrogance had subsided quite a bit. King Hui and the prince of the northern continent were obviously getting impatient. They had already sent many people to cross the mountain range to investigate the situation. Zhouing saw that the mountain pass was not only guarded, but there were also many soldiers, so she ignored them. As for the emperor and the others, they were already halfway there, and the number of soldiers had clearly increased by quite a bit. It was likely that they were taken from the various provinces along the way. After making sure that Northern Pass was fine, she began to investigate the situation on the entire continent. She did not expect the western region of Xixia to experience a drought again. However, there was plenty of water reserve at the moment, so there was no panic. Chapter 846 Victory in the First Battle. Zhou Ying took one last glance at the East Continent. At this moment, fat chickens were already everywhere on the East Continent. The number of cattle, sheep, and pigs had also increased significantly. In addition to the fish produced in the sea and the increased production of grain seeds, the people's living standards had obviously improved a lot. In the blink of an eye, 8 days had passed. The emperor had finally arrived at the border with his men, and Gu Chongrui also brought his men there. The next day, the soldiers of the northern continent, who had already treated this expedition as a child's play, were still cursing and joking casually. Just as they were preparing to retreat, the city gates suddenly opened wide. Following that, a series of shouts and roars rang out as teams of cavalrymen quickly rushed toward them. The people behind them quickly surrounded them like a tide. The northern continent general who led the army felt his scalp go numb. There was a massive difference in numbers between the two sides. If they went head-on, they would only be sending themselves to their deaths. However, The cavalrymen had already charged over. It was too late for them to retreat, even if they wanted to. Quick, send the signal. The general raised the scimitar in his hand and roared, "Kill!" He charged straight at the cavalry. When the others saw this, they could only go up. At the same time, a cloud of blue smoke rose into the sky. The soldiers at the northern continent gates had already noticed something was wrong, so they immediately spread the news. When the king of the northern continent, who was playing chess with King Hui, received the news, he stood up and ordered, "Damn, the turtle is finally willing to show itself. Hurry up and prepare 100,000 troops. I will personally lead the troops into the city." After saying that, he excitedly took off the weapons hanging on the wall and hurriedly ran to the drill ground. King Hui felt that something was wrong. After all, the other party had been silent for so many days. This time, they must have been well prepared. The king of the northern continent was probably going to suffer a loss. Thinking of this, he immediately chased after him. "My lord, it's better to send someone to investigate the situation in detail. It'll be troublesome if there's an ambush." "Ambush my ass. There's nothing but a battlefield between the two cities. Even the grass grows close to the ground. With your fearful personality, no wonder you were defeated." The king of the northern continent brushed him off impatiently. King Hu's face darkened when he heard that. He could not be bothered to persuade him anymore, so he changed into armor and followed beside him with a large saber. Seeing this, the king of the northern continent only glanced at him and did not say anything else. After they gathered, they immediately got on their horses and rushed out with their men. When he rushed out, he realized that there was a one-sided massacre going on the battlefield, and it was his people being slaughtered. His eyes reddened as he raised his saber and charged out. The emperor, who was standing on the city gate, saw the army of the northern continent coming out and immediately waved the military flag. Soon, their side retreated about 100 feet. "Shoot!" The emperor waved his hand again. Following that, fog grenades and tear gas grenades were fired at the northern continent's troops. At first, the northern continent soldiers thought those were rocks. They immediately raised their knives to block it, and some even kicked it away. The crude grenades started exploding in the air. When King Hui saw what it was, he immediately cried out alarmingly, "Not good. Retreat. Hurry up and retreat." At this time, the king of the northern continent also felt something was wrong. Because of the pungent smell, he kept sneezing and couldn't even open his eyes. He turned his head and glanced at the army behind him. Almost everyone was in the same situation. He immediately ordered a commander to wave the flag and retreat. As soon as they retreated, the Ming Dynasty's soldiers immediately shouted, returning every curse word they had endured over the past few days. Afterward, they immediately cleaned up the battlefield and returned to the city. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.